Hey guys, I just thought I'd jump in and basically re-record our holiday story. I'm going to go from the first class all the way through. So you'll have a really good demonstration of some of the videos that we used for the teaching. So if you don't want to watch all three classes that we taught individually, just take a look at this. And then again, please practice with your dog and share it on our social media page. We would love to see the story. So this is class one. I am not Julie. I am Yo, but I went ahead and just re-record this really quickly. So Julie and Kelly taught together. This class is typically something that we play during the holidays. And the class was recorded live. And again, if you want to watch those live recordings, they are going to be included in this video. An interactive class, it's a 3-class series, which means that after we show you the trick, we want you to stop or pause this video and then practice with your dog and then move on. Typically, you're going to be working for about 1 to 3 minutes each time with your dog, and then you're going to give them some rest, put them back on a settle mat or something, and then come back to the screen. What to expect? We have a storybook. Now, included in this email, you're going to see a tutorial that I did a little bit earlier. And basically, the tutorial is going to tell you how to use that template. Once you click the template, it is totally yours. It's going to open up in an editing software called Canva, which is a free software. You're going to be able to put your own dog's pictures in there. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, we have included the templates again, as well as we added a video template. So if you are creating videos of your dog doing these tricks, you can put those in there. Now, try not to change much more than the images, because we've put the time that the picture is being shown in the storybook to match the audio. So if you press play, once you've done your storybook, what you're going to see is a video of the entire story. What you're going to need for class one, we don't have the box, but we do want to make sure that you have your setup stationed area. You want to really a place that your dog can focus, so away from distractions. I like to put up an X pen, someplace really soft for your dog to lay down on, especially on the down behaviors. You want to have something that your dog really is comfortable with relaxing on. If you have a dog that tends to wander around the house, you might want to put on a harness on your dog so that you can leash them when you're going in between. You want 2 toys, because we do have a lot of stuff working with a fetch and a drop. If you're going to record any of the sessions with your dog, make sure you bring a video, your phone or a camera, so that you can do that. Fresh water. If you use a clicker, go ahead and grab your clicker. Some of your dog's favorite treats. In the first class, we have a Santa hat and a scarf. Later on, we're going to be using a ribbon and a box, and then a gift bags that your dog will be going around. Don't use anything that your dog is not comfortable with. So grab toys instead. Grab a blanket or a towel. You don't have to use a Santa hat if you don't have one or your dog is afraid of it. The most important thing is that your dog is safe and that you're not trying to ask them to do something that's making them more fearful. All right, here is the holiday story book. This is kind of what it looks like. This was last year's template. It says 2020. You want to start taking images of your dogs, just regular head-on shots or side profile, because you're going to be able to put these pictures into the template. So let's go ahead and get started on class one. To warm up, you're going to do a 3-minute warm up of doing something your dog absolutely loves. Give them a treat for absolutely no reason. Ask for a paw target, a nose target, anything that your dog loves to do. Set your timer for 3 minutes and begin now. I'm going to go ahead and move on to page 1. So page 1, the first part of the story in page 1 is right here on the right-hand side. I'll let you guys go through that on your own, because I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. So these are the tricks. So what you see in red, put on his red hat, is basically Santa. Your Santa, Rudolph, is your dog. So in red, we have for the very first part of class, we have putting on a red hat. That is you, Santa, putting on a red hat in front of your dog. Fetching a scarf. That is your dog fetching something in their mouth. We did a scarf and then bringing it to you, in which you're going to put the scarf on. And then we go into a playtime. So here's what it's going to look like. So Santa puts on a hat. So putting on a red hat in front of your dog. A lot of dogs may get scared when unfamiliar with things that show up. So we want to make sure your dog feels really comfortable with that, especially if they know who you are, no problem. We did a Christmas Santa Claus in front of all the dogs yesterday, but they knew who it was. And there was like no fear at all, right? So make sure your dog is comfortable in the room and they watch you put the Santa hat on. That is your very first exercise. Then you're going to do, well, after you've done that for a few, this is going to be a 3-minute round. The next one is you're going to give your dog a treat for just watching you put that on. And then you're going to repeat that 3 times. And then you'll pause right now, and then you'll come back to the screen for the next one. All right. Next trick you have in this first part of the story is fetching a scarf. So whatever that looks like for you. So you're going to have your dog interact with the object, in this case, a scarf. Present the scarf a couple inches away from your dog's nose, and then kind of get a little excited. So your dog wants to take that object and put it in their mouth. If you want to put this on cue, we call this take it. If your dog doesn't seem to be a natural fetcher, then maybe just, like bring it up to your face and go, oh my God, what's this? And kind of hide it a little bit and then maybe toss it on the floor. The only goal right here is to get your dog to at least put it in their mouth or at least interact with it in one way. Now, if you've gone beyond that, the next goal is to play a little game of tug, because if your dog absolutely loves to tug with you, then they're going to bring it back to you. So be excited. You're going to do a little game of tug. And then after you've gone through tug in this 3-minute round, then you're going to move on to tossing the scarf about 1 or 2 feet away from you in hope that your dog wants to bring it back to play tug with you. Now, if your dog is taking the scarf and running away, you want to stay with tug, play tug a little bit more. Again, if you're tossing it, it's going to be 2 to 4 feet away. So set your timer for 3 minutes and begin. Next is peekaboo, or sit and present the scarf to you. So to teach a peekaboo, you might want to use 2 treats to begin with, 1 in each hand. Now, when we do this, what you'll see is us bring the dog facing us to start, and they're going to come all the way around our human right leg, and then they're going to pop their head between your 2 legs. Now, option to sit, lay down, there's all kinds of things once you get into position. But I would use 2 treats and just lure your dog into position and pay them when they're in position. So use 1 treat to guide them where you want them to go. We call this a lure. Use the other treat to pay them. If that is challenging, we have a lot of dogs that don't want to be around the humans, especially around their legs, for whatever reason. Just ask your dog for a sit and the distraction of the scarf being tossed around. So you'll cue a sit and you'll present the scarf. Now, what you see here in this video is what we were looking for, the end goal, which is if your dog is comfortable, you're going to be putting the scarf on your dog. But do not do this if your dog's not comfortable. Just presenting a scarf in front of your dog is good enough. Then we move on to a play session. Now, this is supposed to just kind of break away from the stress of trying to teach a particular thing and just have a good time. Now, if you've got a big dog that's a jumper, then your play might look different. You might do a game of hide and seek. You might do a find it. Here I am on the floor with my dog at his level, and we're playing a game of what we call human play. I don't think I have a toy. I can't quite see the video. Set your timer for 3 minutes. And begin. As we move on to page 2, here are your next set of tricks. We've got a dog walking 5 steps in a heel position, a sit. Then while your dog is in sit, you're going to be tossing a toy onto the ground, and your dog stays in a sit, and then you're going to walk away and you're going to recall your dog past the toy. So let's get started. First one, you're going to take a treat and place it right by your left or right hand, your hand hip. And you're going to ask your dog to walk right next to you. Now, at first, you're going to pay quite frequently. The goal is to take 5 steps with your dog walking right next to you. So to do that, you might want to grab a treat, place it, you can place it up or down, and basically keep your dog in that really nice tight heel position for 5 steps. Once you get to your designated position or spot, you're going to cue a sit. Make sure that there's not any furniture or tables your dog is going to run into. After you cue a sit, we're going to be adding all the distractions and then we're going to walk away. Let me see if we move through all of this. Okay, so we're going to go on to the very first one is walk and heel. You're going to ask for a sit. You're going to drop the toy, and then you're going to recall. I'm sorry, let me go back one. So the first one we're doing here is you're going to walk in a heel, drop the toy, and recall. So walk in a heel, 5 steps. You've got 3 minutes to practice this. Next, you're going to walk in a heel to a specific spot and ask your dog for a sit. Next trick. So remember, there's a 2 or 3 minute round in between each one. Now we're going to ask your dog to go into a sit. So cue your dog for a sit. And what you're going to do is what we call the distraction of a dropped toy. You're going to take a toy, stay about 1 foot away from your dog. You're not doing distance yet. You're just going to simply add a distraction of the sight of a toy. Now, to prevent your dog from jumping up, we want to go really easy. So it's sit, reward the sit, and then show a toy in your hand. And before your dog reacts, because we're trying to reward the non-reaction, they're just staying sit, we're going to place the toy behind our back, and then we're going to present a treat. So we're basically going to mark the moment that your dog stays. So sit with the distraction of a toy. The goal is to eventually drop the toy. After you do a few rounds of rewarding your dog for staying in a sit, so you're building duration and showing a distraction, 2 of the 3 Ds. So it's sit, reward the sit, present a toy, put it behind your back, reward again. Present the toy the second time, maybe toss about 1 or 2 inches from your hand and pay. Maybe 3 inches and pay. And you do want about 5 repetitions, then release your dog and repeat. Each time you have success, you can progressively make this harder and harder. So instead of tossing the toy, you can drop the toy maybe 1 foot away from the floor, 6 inches from the floor. Now, remember, when the toy gets closer to the dog's level, most likely they're going to get up. So if your dog gets up, it just means you're just making it a little bit too challenging. So go back to just tossing it. So it's just the sight of the toy. Now, if your dog is mastering that, then you're going to go all the way to where you can put the toy down on the ground and pay your dog, and then pick the toy up and put it behind your back. If you've gotten through that and you're still, you got some success, then the goal would be to have the toy down and you're going to be walking away with the goal of getting away about 10 feet away or 5 to 10 steps away. So you'll be adding distance. So you're going to have 5 minutes on this round. So go ahead and pause this video, 5 minutes. So you're going to practice. So this is the end of class 1. You're going to practice for about 5 minutes a day. Here are all of the behaviors that you want to practice. Put on a hat in front of your dog, tug or fetch, peekaboo, dog walk close by and a heel for 5 steps, sit on cue, sit with the distraction of a toy on cue, sit with distance away, and then recall your dog past the toy. Good luck, guys, and we will see you next class, which is right now. I'm going to go right into class 2. So again, I am not Julie. So the introduction is pretty much the same. We want to hear from you guys how it was, if you had a good time. In this class, we are going to be using a box. And other than that, I think most of the other stuff is pretty much the same. I think we have our gift. I can't remember. So we're going to start class 2 right away. You're going to want to warm up. Again, if this is the second day that you're doing this, then you're going to go right through another warm up. Paw target, nose target, hide and seek. Get your dog really interested in wanting to participate. So for page 3 of your storybook, you see in red, we have jumps in a box, wrap me up, which means spin around, drops the toy into the box. So drops it in the box is a put a toy in the box cue, and then a high five. If you've got some ribbon, the end picture would have like a dog with ribbon around them, or a dog putting their paw on ribbon. The box is going to be used for a trick. Your dog can jump inside of a box, walk inside of a box, sit in a box, stand on a box, nose touch to a box, paw target to a box. Totally your choice, whatever your dog is comfortable with. Here we have the video. So place a box in the middle of your room. You're going to mark and reward any kind of engagement with that box, including just looking at it. Toss a treat to reset your dog each time. So after they do something with the box, just toss a treat to reset. Now, a couple of you had sent us a message saying that my dog won't touch the box. Lay the box flat, like just make it complete flat as if it was a towel. You can even place a towel kind of on it. Maybe the box is too slippery. Maybe the dog has had a bad experience with the box. So again, reward anything near the box. Have fun with this. Don't have any expectations. See what your dog gives you naturally. You'll have 3 minutes here. Next, we have a spin. To teach spin, you can use targeting. If your dog has a nose target, you're just going to simply ask them to follow that target and mark as soon as they get to the opposite side and reward them right in front of you. Other option is to have a treat in your hand keeping your pointing finger out, maybe your middle finger and thumb, and you're going to lure them into a spin direction. For those of you that have done this before, you're going to have them spin in both directions. We call this spin. I call it spin out, which is spin one way and then the other. For my little dog Bandit, I call it spin left and spin right. So sometimes I'll say left spin, right spin, and it tells them which direction to go. Totally your choice. Just get some kind of movement going with your dog. All right, 3 minutes to practice this and begin. Next is dropping a toy in the box. So early on the class 1, we talked about fetch, right? You were fetching, your dog was fetching a toy. So what we're going to do is take that fetch. Instead of your dog putting the scarf in your hand, we're going to ask them to play a game of the toy. You're going to bring 2 toys to this exercise. And you're going to fun way to teach your dog to drop whatever is in their mouth is playing the game of what we call the toy trade. So once your dog is dropping a toy to get another toy, you'll be able to capture that behavior, right? The opening of their mouth, and you're going to want to put a word on that. We use drop or out. This makes some really good timing. This takes a lot of good timing on your part. Once you're getting a drop, well, then all you got to do is place your hand over a bucket of some kind, and that's where you begin to get the toy drop into the box. And in our tricks classes, you'll see that we do the advanced version of this where your dog starts to put all their toys away, or we have a recycle. So 3 minutes for this one. Drop the toys using a 2-toy trade game and begin. As we move on to page 4, this is the next exercises. Paw on a box. Go to a spot, leave it, which is wait, because you're going to be walking away, and wait until released. So in the holiday story, this is where Rudolph sits patiently waiting for his favorite part, where he gets to help tie the bow. That's where the paw goes on the bow. Rudolph heads over to his spot while Santa goes to check and see who's at the door. So let's go ahead and get started. You guys can hear the story later. I'm sure you've seen it or heard it. But here are your 4 tricks. They're right up here on the board. And let's get started. So next we have paw on a box. So any engagement your dog does with the ribbon, you're going to mark and reward. The goal is that your dog puts their paw on the ribbon. So to do this, what you do is you can simply just sit down next to the box, invite your dog over, and you might just want to toss some food on the box with the ribbon there so they're not afraid of the ribbon. As you move on, you can ask for a paw target. Maybe even use a sticky note, put the ribbon on your hand or a sticky note, and then you gradually bring that paw target down to the ribbon. So it looks like they're putting their paw right on that ribbon. So you're going to take 2 to 3 minutes here to practice that, and then pause this video and come on back. Next, we have somebody's at the door. It's Mrs. Claus who's delivering cookies. So you're going to say to your dog, go to a spot, which the behavior is basically your dog goes to a specific location and stays put because someone's at the door. So teach your dog a cue that means go to a specific spot. We're going to put some duration on this, which means you're going to add once your dog gets into position. For us, it's a laying down or a sit or even a stand for some of our dogs, but we want to put someplace really soft where for them to encourage them to want to stay put. On the next slide, we're going to show you how to change the association with an actual knock or doorbell. So if your dog struggles, tells you, alerts you that, hey, someone's at the door and it's just overboard and you want to change that, in the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But for right now, what I'd like you to do is work on teaching go to a specific spot. Now, you again can do that with luring, where you lure your dog to the spot, mark and reward them, and then you're going to pay them 2 or 3 times for staying put. Make sure you release them. Or the other option is to pick up your blanket or bed and just put it down and look at it and see what your dog does and offers whatever they opt. You're going to capture, toss the treat to reset them, and go again. All right. Next slide is how to change the association with the sound of the knock. So a knock that can be pretty challenging sound for most dogs. If you have a dog that overreacts to the sound of a knock or even the doorbell, you're going to want to help them change what they're actually doing, the behavior, or how they feel. So to do this, what you're going to do is take your phone, look for voice messages or voice recordings, and record the sound of somebody knocking on the door or ringing the doorbell. You're then going to play that noise back at a much lower volume and give them something joyful to do. You can, if they're afraid of this noise, you're going to want to change the way they feel about it. What I would like to do for this story, what we were doing here is that the noise of the knock actually means go to the spot. So as you record, if you play the recording back, you can then give them something to do that's just going to change the way that they feel about it. But you can also play the volume of the knock or doorbell, and then you can cue them to go to a spot and reward that. So you can change the cue from go to your spot to someone knocking at the door. Now, we teach this a lot in our tricks courses where we go, changing a current cue to a new cue. So we go through the steps on that. But for right now, just play a game while you play the sound at a very low volume. After a couple minutes, then you can raise the volume as long as your dog is not overreacting to the sound. You can scatter some treats. You can play a game of fetch, whatever your dog likes to do. You can even give them an interactive feeder with the sound of the doorbell or the knock. And this just helps them chill out and not really respond to it as much. All right, moving. Wait. So when we say wait, what we're talking about is we're going to be right back. Stay right put. It's very, can be used for your dog to focus on you. Stay while they're there. They're not going to move forward if you're at a curb. This cue is especially helpful to prevent your dog from bolting out the door. It's not necessarily a stay, but it looks just like a stay. When we typically teach pet parents to use wait, it's less time, and it means I'm going to release you in a minute. Just a second. Give me a second. It's easy to teach. So instead of giving your dog a food reward, you can simply teach your dog that responding to that cue means being allowed to do so. So if you have a dog that loves to go for a walk, waiting at the door is the cue, right? The behavior. wait might be the cue. The behavior is that they're staying put and they're not going through the door. But the release of going through the door and going for a walk is the reward, right? So instead of using treats, instead of using toys, you can reward your dog with the actual behavior that they're waiting to do. In this case, we're going to be waiting for the plate of cookies to come down. So the goal is that you get your dog to go into a sit or down at their spot. You're going to be walking away little by little distance away, and you're going to leave a plate or an object on the floor is the goal, but the goal is that they do not move forward until release. So this was the end of class 2. You're going to want to practice for about 5 minutes a day. Don't forget to like or share your videos with us, and don't forget to follow us so that you can get some more tips and tricks. So the behaviors that we have for this class 2 is shaping a dog to go into or onto a box, any interaction with a box, and then you do the same thing with a ribbon. Your goal is to teach your dog to put a toy inside of a box or container. You're going to go into a high five, pause on a box, go to your spot, and then leave it with what we did with a wait, and wait until released. All right, going on to class 3 really quickly, the end of it. And again, that was Julie and Kelly teaching. Welcome to class 3. So warm up again for 2 or 3 minutes. If you're just starting out on a new day, always go through a warm up. Give your dog a treat for no reason. So on page 5 of your storybook, we have walking around or recall past gifts. So by now, hopefully you have some Christmas gifts that are wrapped and under the tree. If not, use bags, use Trader Joe bags. And your goal is to present those gifts in a area that your dog's not afraid of. And you're going to either recall them past those the bags, or you're going to have them zigzag through. So let's get started. So walk around the gifts, recall past one gift, mark reward, and then add a gift and repeat. So using targeting or lure your dog around one gift at a time. Your dog may be afraid of a bag, so go really slow and watch for signs of stress, right? Mouth closed, lip licking, yawning. Look for those signs of stress. If your dog is showing signs of stress, take some steps back and reward your dog for just simply looking at the gift. So take 2 or 3 minutes to practice right here, and then we'll move on to page 6 or page 5, part 2. Page 5, part 2, you're going to cue your dog to sit next to the gift or in the same room of where you have your gifts. So it's just to sit with a gift right next to them. Now moving on to page 6 is whispering in your ear, right? You're going to ask your dog what they want for Christmas, and they're going to whisper in your ear. Then we're going to go into a settle at your feet, and maybe you've got some slippers on. So the part of the story says, Rudolph takes one more look at Santa before nodding off, keeping Santa's slippers warm. All right. So for 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to go into the very first one of page 6. So to do this, what you're going to do is you're going to teach your dog to tell you a secret on cue. It also happens to be one of the easiest tricks to train your dog. And there's lots of different ways to teach. So we're going to give you one particular way. If you have a nose target, you're going to cue your dog to touch their nose to your hand. And you're simply going to move your hand closer and closer to where your ear is. The goal is for you to turn your head and for their nose to touch your ear. Now that is one way. I'm going to quickly go over the second option. The other option is to place the treat in your hand and place that treat next to your ear. So what it looks like is your dog will be nibbling. What we have here with myself and Bentley is he's nibbling on the treat, and I am acting here. So I am nodding and saying yes and checking on him, right? And it looks as if he is actually whispering in your ear. So if you're doing a video, you're going to want to do it this way because he'll stay there a little bit longer, but you're eventually going to get rid of the food lure, and you're going to turn that into a behavior that you can do on a cue. All right, 2-3 minutes to practice that. Moving on to the rest of page 6, you're going to cue your dog to go into a down. with the goal of having your slippers or your feet nearby. So the goal is that your dog lays down right on your feet. Teaching your dog to lay down on cue is really useful in a lot of different ways in real life situations. But if you're going to family's house this holiday season, then you're going to want to make sure that your dog can chill and relax. Make sure they get their exercise and outlook before. Bring them something to do, right? Or they'll find something to do. And to teach down, you can capture it, you can shape it. Go ahead and practice for 2 or 3 minutes. If you have any questions, please drop it into our community group so we can help you out. Practice for 2, 3 minutes, and I'll be back. All right, last page, page 7, which comes to the end of the story. There's 2 parts. So this part right here is putting on your boots and jackets while your dog goes into a sit down or stand. Now, a lot of times when a dog sees their human put on shoes or a jacket, it means they're leaving. And for some, it can be very stressful. So what we're going to do here is practice putting on shoes, jacket, grabbing your keys, your purse, but really not going anywhere. This will teach your dog that it doesn't always mean you're leaving, and it's going to help lower their stress, right? So you'll practice that for a little bit in your 2 or 3 minute session, and then you're going to recall your dog to go through your legs. So let's see how that looks. All right, so put on your boots and jackets, walk around in a circle, then take them off. A fun game that helps break any negative associations they might have about you leaving. It can be keys, it can be grabbing your purse. So do this for about 2 or 3 minutes. This really does help those dogs that are suffering from separation anxiety. It's one of the exercises we have the pet parents do. So do this for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll move on to the recall. So next one is a great trick to teach your dog is what we call a tunnel or go through. This is where your dog runs between your legs from a distance. It's also a recall. It's perfect for having fun on your walks. It can even use an alternative for a long distance recall, especially if you're in some place where it's kind of windy and your dog can't really hear you. So if your dog doesn't have a tunnel cue, you can recall to your hand, you can recall to a sit, or recall through your legs. We want you to practice whatever that recall is for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you are done with your story. You're going to put it all together, and you're going to implement it into this storybook if you can. So just like we said before, for classes 1 and 2, please practice for about 5 minutes a day. Walk around or recall past gifts, sit next to presents, whisper a secret, settle at your feet, put on your boots or jacket in a sit for your dog to go in a sit down or stand, and recall your dog to go through your legs. So commit to practicing. Just send us some pictures or videos, and don't forget to use the hashtag #MyHolidayStory. Hopefully this was helpful. Let us know, and we will see you next time.